but you're going nowhere. Don't blame me for what you've done, because I know that you were having fun.
Welcome to the Clarified Realty Podcast, exposing the real estate secrets your agent doesn't want you to know. Here's your host, Tom Clary.
Well, don't you just walk away. That's when I'll say.
Welcome to the Clarified Realty Podcast. I'm Tom Clary, and I'm your host. I'm a real estate agent here in the beautiful state of California, Los Angeles to be exact. I'm here with my co-host, Ron Bruno. Ron, how you doing today?
I'm doing well, sir.
Anything interesting going on in the Brunosville, in the Bruno world?
Well,
the Bruno space?
I would say not so much in the Bruno space. You know, we're just getting ready to
the alternate dimension known as the Bruno world?
Right, exactly. No, we're just getting ready to head out to the East Coast to go visit with family.
Christmas time.
So we're going to head out to Delaware and then Virginia and then over to Philadelphia. So
pretty cold out there.
Provided that my
pretty
wife,
cold, right? They were having blizzards and all sorts of craziness, right?
I don't know if it's going to get like that, but it's going to be cold.
Okay.
It's definitely going to be cold.
Yeah. Are you going to ask me what I did today?
Sure. What'd you do?
Ask me what I did today.
You edited the podcast.
Other than finishing editing this week's podcast.
You recovered from the PGA party.
I recovered from the PGA party, which was a lovely party.
That was fun.
Little fewer people there than in previous years, which was kind of interesting.
And PGA, not golfers.
Not PGA. No golfers there. Well, probably golfers, but they don't get paid for it.
True. Not the Professional Golf Association.
Right. It's the Producers Guild of America.
Yes.
That I used to, I'm still a member of, but yet my previous life as a visual effects producer.
Yes.
But no, it was a wonderful time. But I woke up really early to do the podcast, finish the episode of the podcast about 4 this morning.
Yep.
Because I had to be at the movie theater.
Oh no.
At 9:30 this morning.
Did that come out today?
To see The Last Jedi. Yeah, I went to go see The Last Jedi. No spoilers here, folks. Don't worry about it. I'm not going to go there because I would never want to deprive anybody of the same pleasure that I had. But
and it was amazing.
Well, I mean, if we're going there, yeah. I mean, it definitely belongs there, and it definitely is in my top 3.
Nice.
It's a fantastic movie.
Cool.
Yeah, it's well worth going at 9:30 in the morning to a movie theater.
That's awesome.
And
Karen's still recovering from surgery, so yeah, we can't go to the movies and sit there and stand in line.
That would be kind of uncomfortable for her, But that was.
But she's a huge Star Wars freak.
Is she really?
Beyond.
Wow.
Quote Star Wars.
We should probably break.
I married a woman who loves Star Wars, which is like, mic drop, boom.
Yeah, right. Yeah, no, I mean, it kind of runs definitely in my blood. And it's funny because I went with Julie today. She kind of insisted on coming along, because, it's like, you're going to the movies in the middle of the day without me. That was the problem, was not that I was going to the movies in the middle of the day.
But
without her. But she's a Star Trek person. And I'm sitting there, and I'm like going, God, how does she not?
Those?
Yeah, how could she not see how vastly superior this movie is to any Star Trek movie that's been... I mean, it's just so... anyway, now I'm probably going to get... I probably never get comments, but now we're going to get comments about how the Star Trekkers are out there.
That's all right.
Despising
there's
us.
Trekkies out there.
There are, we both can live in the same world. I'm not saying... I'm just saying that Star Wars is better. That's just it.
I mean, there's no question.
There's no argument.
No argument there.
So we got any news out there?
Yeah.
Like real news?
Real news. So it's been a very busy week in Washington. So first of all, what was that day? Earlier this week, the Fed announced that they were going to raise interest rates by 1/4 point. That was in line with forecasts.
It was pretty much what we had said during not this week's podcast, but the podcast before, or it was on maybe one of the Alexa skills. We had said there was a very good chance that we were going to see a tick up in the interest rates because the job report that came out last week was so.
Right. It was positive. It was
made
positive.
Sense. Yeah.
And, you always have to look beyond the headline, right? So you always have to look beyond, what you're seeing in terms of just that, what it says. Okay, Fed raises rates by 1/4 point. You have to look beyond that, right? So it was already priced in. So interest rates, they didn't really, jump up because everyone knew about it. The other aspect of that is you have to break it down. So, what they also talked about was, okay, we're going to look at 2018 and we're we're actually going to have 3 raises. Right. So they gave some commentary about that. Right. So that's good to know. So you can prepare yourself. And, if you're out there home shopping, then, if you're right now looking at rates and I don't know, maybe they're 4.25, you might have to look at 4.5, right? Or possibly 4.75 because rates are going up. Right. So that's one aspect to it. The other aspect is Yellen, I don't know, it's because she's, on her way out.
Yeah.
Right. So
she's letting
Jerome Powell is on his way in.
She's like throwing a Molotov cocktail over her shoulder kind of thing.
So she's like, everything's great, and this was about as positive as you could get.
Right.
Yellen said that the economy and the world, just the world economy in general is positive and things are moving in a very strong, healthy environment and momentum. So those are all good things, right? So when you have that, you always have to worry about inflation creeping up. So the Fed's job is to make sure that inflation doesn't rise too quickly. So you always have to pay attention to that number. Now, what they were saying is that you really don't have to worry about that, at least in the short term, because the numbers are still below 2. Right. So they're always trying to keep things.
They don't want things accelerating too fast.
They don't.
They don't want to lose control of the car. Basically.
Right, because you devalue you devalue your income, you devalue your cash and everything else. So that's something that you want to pay attention to. So another development is Congress is the GOP leaders. So the Republicans control the House and the Senate.
Right.
So they have reached a consensus. And how it affects real estate is really where we're, primarily focused. So the House and the Senate, they've reached a consensus and, it's always changing, right? So as when we actually release this podcast, the information could be completely different. So disclaimer.
And literally as we're recording it, we just received news that Marco Rubio is finally going to sign on because this child deduction credit was going to be higher, apparently.
Right. So,
if you want a little, snippet in time, that's where we're at right now. So it might have completely changed by the time you're listening to this. But.
Exactly. So, the big three, I'll call it, is the mortgage interest rate deduction, right? So the mortgage interest deduction, the House wanted to move it from $1 million down to $500,000. Right. So that means that if you have a mortgage above a balance above $500,000, you can only deduct up to $500,000. Right. And the Senate wanted to keep it at $1 million. They compromised and met halfway, and they compromised at $750,000. Right. So that's that piece of it. The next piece is they call it SALT. So that's state and local taxes. You can deduct up to $10,000 as a family for those particular taxes. And, that certainly, throws people in New Jersey and New York that have very high property taxes into a little bit of a tizzy. Because
California ain't going to be great either.
No, California, same thing. So, it's something that they're not really happy about because they feel that it's unfairly penalizing them. So it is what it is, right? They both agreed that was their proposal. Another piece to that is they did say that with the mortgage interest deduction, you will be able to have that for second homes. Right. That was something that they were going to say, nope, doesn't count. But now they're saying yes.
Saying, no, they're going to include it. Well, that's good.
Right. So that's another element to this. And then the third one, which, I don't see a lot of information about it, but I think it's pretty glaring, is, the capital gains exclusion. Right. So right now, if you sell a home, if you live in that home 2 out of 5 years, you're able to, as a single person, deduct, you are able to, have the first $250,000 of capital gains completely excluded, right? So you're not going to have to pay capital gains tax on that. If you're a married couple, it's $500,000. Well, the new proposal is saying that you have to live in that house 5 out of 8 years. Right. So if there's people that, buy a starter home and the idea is that, in 3 years, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go sell it.
Well, there are folks who it's a continual process. Like literally that's how they make extra cash. Is they go every 2 years, they buy and they live in that house for 2 years, and it makes sense for them.
And they rent it.
And then exactly, and then
and then they go buy something else.
And they do it to that one.
Exactly. So that's going to be
increasing it to 5 years. It might make an actual hit in that kind of impact to those people.
Yeah, and of course,
Definitely.
and that's why the National Association of Realtors, the National Association of Home Builders, they're saying, wait a second, you're hitting our pocketbooks, right?
Right.
I don't know if they're saying you're hurting our homeowners, but you're saying you're hitting our pocketbooks.
Yeah, right.
Right. So they're looking at it from that angle.
Right.
But it does affect how people are going to buy homes.
Right.
Right. So those are the things that we saw this week.
Right. I mean, it was a very busy week on Capitol Hill, and it seemed that most of our news was kind of coming from the federal government and really not so much local here. And do you think that's all going to kind of settle down after this has all gone away? I mean, do you think we're going to...
Well, what they want to do is, so Congress, they want to go home, right?
Yeah.
So they've been working tirelessly and they just want to go home for the holidays and be with their families and everything else. And they want to celebrate a victory, right?
Yeah.
So the GOP, they control the presidency, the House, and the Senate. So they want to have a win. So the goal is to get something in front of Trump so he can go ahead and sign it.
But I'm saying, is there anything, do you know of anything that's on the agenda that's kind of like past that? Like is there another big thing coming down the pike? Because I know that we were trying to do the repeal of Obamacare. Right. And then this was now, the budget thing now turned into the whole, like what we were trying
Well, this thing has so many layers to it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the biggest thing is they're going to take the corporate tax rate from 35 down to 21.
Yeah, right.
They wanted 20, but it looks like they're going to negotiate it at 21, which Trump said he's cool with 22.
Yeah.
Right. So, but that's a pretty big change.
Yes, definitely.
Right now, is that going to affect every American? No. Not every American has a big corporation.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think what we'll do is at the beginning of the year, we'll probably have Vahan on, right? So we'll have him as a
That'll be
guest. He's our
very
CPA.
interesting to hear kind of the update from Vahan, our CPA, about what's basically, how he sees these new not regulations, but these new tax laws and these kind of things. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, great. Well, today we're talking with Alionso Angel. He's one of two owners of Two Guys Termite Company. I'm assuming you're one of the two guys, right?
Yeah, I'm one of them. Yes, exactly.
Well, he's been working in the termite industry for going on about 20 years. I mean, that's crazy. 20 years? That's awesome.
Yeah, since 98.
Wow. Interesting. And he's an incredible resource for when it comes down to dealing with these nasty little critters. So, Alionso, thanks so much for being here today.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
We kind of start off with all of our guests when it's their first time here. You kind of give a little history of where you're from. Like, how did you get involved with termites? How did this happen?
It all started in 98. I was in Burbank hanging around. Then one of my neighbors was a termite tech.
Okay.
So he always rolled up in a termite truck and saw me hanging around. And he said, "Hey, you want a job?" So
Get off that fence. Come over here. I need someone to help me.
Yeah, I was working at Universal Studios doing a part-time thing, so I wasn't really too into the full-time job business yet. So,
Right.
And I guess back in that time it was pretty busy time. So
Yeah.
he told me if he wanted to be his helper. We did termite treatments together and repairs, etc. So
Right.
he got me in the business, and then over the years you start getting experience, then you start getting the licensing to move up in the field from an applicator to a field representative and etc. moving up. So we worked together for about 5-6 years, and then I moved into different phases of the business where we went into the office. Scheduling jobs and going over reports with customers, etc.
Right.
So that's where we got all the experience of doing termite in all aspects of the field.
Right.
So that's where we basically stood.
There you go.
Yep.
And then you started your own business.
Yep. In 2006, eventually I just decided to branch off on my own, and I kind of figured out that you could do this on a smaller scale versus working for a bigger company.
Right.
So I said, hey, I'm just going to try this and see how it works. And started in 2006.
It's sometimes better that way. I mean, it kind of keeps you nimble. I mean, you're not creating some sort of huge company that has to take on payroll and all that kind of thing.
Exactly. And that's when I decided to name the company. I kind of said, what there was so different kinds of names that I came up with. And I always liked the fact that I wanted to be a small hands-on company.
Yeah.
And
it's really two guys.
Yep. It all started with two guys, and we just...
Now technically, we were talking before this podcast, though, it's no longer two guys.
No, we're
you actually have some other people.
We've grown. We got an office person. We have field techs now
Right.
too, et cetera. We have 2 inspectors. So yeah, it's 5 of us now. The whole corporation. It was 6 a month ago, but we lost 1 guy. But still, we're
growing.
yeah, we are.
That's
yeah,
fantastic.
Exactly.
That's great. So, basically, I think the best way to kind of, I'm trying to, come at what was the best way to kind of look at how we can provide the most value to everybody out there. And I was thinking that let's start off with just basically the inspection process. So when you go through a sale of when you're purchasing a home, one aspect of it is that they have to basically get an inspector out there to look for termites and look for other kinds of organisms, and we'll get into that and everything it covers. But so they come out, and so what do you do like when you first approach home? Like how do you strategize? Like, okay, I need to do this and I need to do that.
Each inspector kind of has their own system of how
Like
they
their own
show,
style.
Yeah, their own style. Over the years, you kind of figure out what's the most efficient way of doing it.
Yeah.
So I've changed my methods of doing it when I first started. I kind of like to do an exterior inspection of the home first, kind of get a diagram going and kind of an idea. You get regular homes, but then you show up to sometimes a hillside home, or a big square footage type home that you kind of never know what you're going to get into until you turn the corner. You turn the corner and you realize that you have a pretty big structure that it's going to have a lot of issues or a lot of areas you need to address.
Right.
So I always start with the exterior. You kind of do a diagram and a partial inspection while you're going. And then I'll stop when I'm done doing the complete diagram, and then I'll turn around again and start doing the actual inspection, where you actually start doing the probing and getting on your hands and knees and kind of seeing where you can find stuff.
So when you say probing, just kind of describe what you mean by that.
Usually, some inspectors come with ski poles. Other people use screwdrivers. Sometimes use sticks, things like that you can tap on the wood and find out if sometimes you'll run into issues where termites have eaten all the way up to the paint. So you can't see that you have damage in the wrap details.
The paint is basically formed what looks like the wood.
Yeah. You don't.
So you got to know if it's like empty on the other side.
Exactly. Sometimes you just tap into it and you break into it and you find out you have termite galleries or termite damage, and that's where you basically.
It's that kind of thorough. It's like poking the house every so often, just to kind of go, okay, is that soft? Is it something that gives?
You can hear it. Sometimes it doesn't give in, but it still sounds hollow.
Right.
So that's you kind of playing detective work, and you kind of going by all the evidence to find out at the very end of the inspection what condition the home is and what your recommendation will be.
Right.
To
Now, what are the specific things you're looking for? Like what is a termite report cover in terms of?
It's basically, people call it a termite report, but it's basically a wood destroying pest and organism report.
Right.
So you're addressing anything that will damage the home.
And that's why it covers dry rot and things like that.
Yeah, termites, dry rot, beetles, things, you don't get much of that, but dry rot, termites, fungus, and then those are the most
prevalent things.
Yeah.
Like the things you're probably likely to find.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you also look for conditions that would lead in. We separate our reports into Section 1 and Section 2.
And I was going to get to that. So define what the difference between Section 1 and Section 2 is.
Section 1 items is where you have existing damage.
Right.
Where you actually see the evidence of termites or the damage of termites or the dry rot. And then Section 2 items are conditions that would lead into a potential problem in the future. So, you're looking at moisture issues, peeling paint, faulty grade issues, earth to water contact, etc. Things like that are not causing a problem now, but would in the future.
It could lead to something happening.
Exactly.
Right. And that's, it's interesting in terms of like when on my side, when as an agent, when I get my, the termite report from the seller and whenever I'm working with my buyers, explaining that whole idea of the difference between the two. And I think it was pretty much dead on to what you just kind of said, which is, the Section 1 is that's happening right now. That's what the damage is that's going on with the house. The section 2 is more of the preventative stuff you probably would like to do, like when you get into the house or
Correct.
whatever, to make sure that nothing else happens
Correct.
later on in the future.
Correct.
And and that can sometimes be that kind of defining line of when you're asking for a request for repairs, even where you kind of go, look, I care about the section 1 because that's actually there, right? So I need to get that from that, because it's totally logical to go to your seller and say, it makes sense for me to have a clean house. It makes sense that I get, have something delivered to me that is in good condition.
Correct.
Basically.
Yeah. And usually for a buyer, it's important to get a clearance of section 1, but it's also for you to know what you got to look for when you become the homeowner.
Yeah.
And,
right.
There's different areas. It can go as much as the seller having the sprinklers turned on too much during the
exactly,
day.
yeah.
Or the grading, the planter boxes are full of mulch or dirt, and they're too high up and they're touching siding, or it's
and bushes like up against siding and stuff like that
where
can actually
moisture can collect,
exactly,
etc. So those things are really important for the buyer to know that they have to address as homeowners, so they don't, besides having what's existing taken care of, they don't have any issues in the future for them to having show up when they're homeowners now.
Right. So are there any things that are more dangerous than other things? Like things like that you go, if I see a house of this, I'm like, look, you need to get this taken care of like now, as compared to, well, you know what, that's probably something that, it's there, but, you can probably take care of it later. Anything like that? It's like, what are the real nasties?
Well, homes that haven't been inspected in many years. Sometimes, you get a homeowner that they're selling their home after 30, 40 years.
They're the first owner, right?
First owners, you show up and I haven't had the inspection. I haven't had an inspection done in 20, 30 years. You're going to find stuff. And especially under the house, up in the attic or in areas that people don't really get to see is when you see the bad stuff.
Yeah.
You'll go in the crawl space and go, you just know about all the spider webs. People haven't been there in years.
Yeah, right.
So, you start seeing leaks and things under the house that haven't been addressed. And that's where you run into the big issues. But overall, you'll know by driving up to a home if it's going to be one of those tough, big inspections.
Yeah.
Or, something average.
Yeah. Ronnie had something?
Yeah. So in addition to a home inspection, there's also the appraisal.
Yeah.
Right. So the appraisal, they're primarily focused on looking at comps, right? They're going to look at the overall condition of the home. They're going to look at the, comparable properties in the area, and then they put together their report. Sometimes, especially those homes that have been around for 30, 40 years and they haven't really kept up the home, the appraiser can point things out. And if the appraiser points out wood rot, and they don't go to the same level.
Up a can of worms.
That opens a can of worms. Yeah. Literally opens a can of worms.
Right.
Because what they're going to ask for at that point, so lenders typically don't ask for a copy of the termite report.
Yeah.
Unless there's something that tells them to do
called
so.
Out.
That's called out.
Right.
So, if you're selling your home and you have an inspector and there is visible wood rot, take care of that before you go into escrow.
Right.
Right. And what's going to happen is, if the appraiser, they go ahead, they call it out. Then the lender is going to ask for the appraisal report. The termite report. And in there, if there's section 1 items, they have to be cleared.
Right.
And, if Alionso puts down there and said it's going to cost $4,000, $5,000, $7,000
it affects things.
worth of damage, that's pretty big.
Yeah.
That's pretty major, right?
It's going to throw up a flare.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Because they have to be cleared.
Right.
And you have to make sure that, that 2 guys termites are going to be able to complete the work before it's done, before escrow.
Right.
Right. Because the lender is not going to fund the loan.
Right.
And allow you to move forward unless that work is completed.
Right.
Right. And another piece to that is, you mentioned the request for repairs. Right. So if you put an amendment in the file.
Exactly.
And if you say that we're offering a seller credit to the buyer for termite damage,
that's going to throw up another flag.
Another red flag.
Right.
So you want to make sure that the agent says this is a seller credit in the amount of $5,000, period.
Yeah.
Do not mention
call that out.
anything about termite.
It can literally,
because the underwriter, their
antenna's up, right? Yeah,
way up, right? If they see anything related to wood rot,
yep.
infestation, bugs, whatever, termite, all that stuff. So you just want to avoid it at all costs.
Right.
There are certain lenders that require a termite report. So VA loans.
Right.
So they require looking at a termite report.
Right.
Some of the down payment assistance programs, they ask for that.
Right.
If you put it in the...
And it would make sense that they would want to, because they're investing in the house as much as you are.
Correct.
Right.
Well, VA, you can buy a home with nothing down. Right. So they're taking an extra level of risk. So they take the appraisal and they look at the termite, and they look at the inspection. They look at all those reports.
Right.
Because they're going in.
Yeah.
Right. So, and then you have those down payment assistance programs, and as well as Unison, right? We talked about that as a program. They also want a copy of those reports.
Right.
So that's another layer that you want to make sure that
they want to make sure that there's still a house in 30 years.
Exactly.
It's not being eaten from the inside.
It's not a Hollywood set, right? Where it's just empty behind you.
It's like there's just, hey, I can see the back wall as soon as I walk in the front door.
Exactly.
So and what I've seen with FHA and VA loans is they also sometimes even require Section 1 and Section 2 items to be taken care of. So that's a whole.
Absolutely.
You're actually doing double the work.
At that point, you don't even get to negotiate on the, in terms of
sometimes the Section 2 stuff can be more complicated than the termite, because now you have to get outside vendors involved, plumbers, roofers, contractors, etc., to take care of issues.
Before we move on, and like with that, I want to stop here for a moment, because we were talking about how you get this, how you basically have the work completed, right? And one of the kind of interesting things that folks kind of don't understand about the process is that it's not, your job is not just to go around, poke at the wood and see if there's droppings or whatever. You're also a contractor. Yeah. So when there's wood damage, you're also doing that repair to fix that beam or that other thing.
Yeah, we do our own repairs. We set limitations on what kind of work we take on ourselves, because sometimes, you can basically remodel an entire house based on termite damage. You want to pick your limitations of where you would want to.
Look, to keep the scope of the work not going out of control.
Exactly. You as long as you can list your Section 1 findings, you can put a recommendation of you doing the work or getting an outside contractor to take care of the work, to do it themselves, because it could be a little more involved, and you could have somebody more qualified to do that type of work.
Right. So, okay, well now let's talk about one of the kind of when it gets to the serious stuff, I guess. Well, maybe not necessarily. You might think that there's something that's more serious than this, and please let me know. But when it comes to the point where you need to tent your house, what's that line where it's like, is it a specific type of organism that says I need to now tent the house, or what is that? What is that warning flag?
The tenting targets just one of the pests, one of the termites. It's the drywood termites.
Okay, so it's just that.
It's just that. Yeah, the tenting is only not designed, but it's recommended and made to eradicate drywood termites.
Got it.
And the tipping point, or when we recommend fumigation is basically if the areas that you find termites are in inaccessible areas. Yeah. That's the deciding factor that you have to tend to home.
Got it.
So you can have 5, 10, 15 spots throughout the house of termites. And if they're all accessible to be treated, then you can go by a local treatment.
Got it.
But you can have one spot of termites found at the bottom of a wall, and the termites are coming from the walls. Then you don't know how far they go.
How deep it is.
Yeah. So that's when you have to recommend the fumigation.
Right.
Because the key thing is accessible areas. If you can't get to them, you have to tent the house, and then that's the only way you eradicate that problem.
What's the process in terms of doing that? Because I know that it's literally people have to move out, of course, because
there's basically,
so they can bake meth in it while they're there, right? Because that's
exactly
Breaking Bad. Did you watch that? Did you ever watch Breaking Bad?
You know what? I didn't watch it, but then people used to tell me Breaking Bad and laughing, and I kind of said, and I YouTubed it and finally found out what it was
saw
about.
what the heck it's.
I don't watch much TV, so
probably not a good idea to be baking meth anywhere, but not in a termite tent.
I didn't get it for a while until I YouTubed it and finally find out what they were talking about. So it's.
But anyway, but in terms of what is the process that the folks need to do? Like when you walk in, you tell the owner of the house, okay, you guys are going to have to move out for X, Y, and Z. And you're going to have to do what do they have to do? How long does it take?
It's a process. It's a 3-day, 2-night process.
Okay.
You basically come in the first day and you put the tent on the house and you gas the house. After that, you only get about 18, 24 hours of exposure of the gas, which is usually Vicane gas that we use to kill termites. And then you start a ventilation process. The ventilation process will start on the second day. You get another 18, 24 hours of ventilation time. And then the tent will fall off or come off on the third day.
Got it.
That's when you get back into your house and it's gone through a ventilation process and aeration process where you can go immediately back into the house when the tent comes off.
Now, do you have to worry about cleaning things off? There's food issues? Like what's
on a vacant home, well, say it's
a vacant home.
Yeah, say it's a vacant home that nobody is habiting or nobody's living in it. You can move right in and you don't have to clean the floors or walls or anything. It doesn't leave any film or residue behind. If it was an occupied home or people live in it, then you have to either remove or bag your food. There's some special nylon fume bags that we supply to the homeowner.
Oh, really? You do? So that you actually hand it to them?
Yeah, it's a packet that we give to them. It's a homeowner schedules a fumigation. We'll give them a packet with instructions of how you bag your food up from the refrigerator in the pantry.
So you keep the food in. You just have to put it in the bags.
Yeah, you put it in special bags, double bag it per the instructions, and then you leave it in the house.
No, interesting.
It's just a safety concern that, that's just the law they made of what you prep. Food and medicines, you have to get it out, or if you want to keep it there,
anything you're going to ingest.
Exactly.
And that includes pets too. Right? Oh, yeah. So you like pet food out. You don't want the pet water.
You don't put the pets in the house.
No. I'm talking about the food. I'm talking about the food and water. Right? So you want to make sure that's protected
pets,
as well.
Yes, Ron, we need to take the pets out. Good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gidget was our little Karen and our Pomeranian was hitting me on the shoulder and say, "Take care of us too."
It's like put a respirator on him.
Right.
What would you think are what would be kind of warning signs that before we even give you a call, like let's say it's before I even go to sell my house, it's stuff that you would be looking for around the house that might give you an indication of like maybe it's maybe I should be calling somebody.
Normally when we get calls from homeowners, it's usually because they're seeing something out of the ordinary that they're not normally seeing inside. I always tell homeowners, you're probably the best inspector inside your home because you're always cleaning. Yeah. You're always picking up stuff, and then when you start noticing these shavings inside your house or these bugs or these we go on a house call. And it's not always termites. It's sometimes, they get something flying around like gnats or flies in the summer, and they'll call us. We'll go on a lot of false alarms where people say, I thought I had termites.
I was thinking about that. Is that there's a big distinction between you guys and what would just be pest guys? I mean, literally.
Yeah. People.
If you tent your house, it's not necessarily going to take care of everything.
No. Most of everything will die under the tent, but it's not the target pest.
Right.
It's always the termite that is going to be the target pest, but everything will die under the tent. So we'll go on these house calls, and people say, I'm noticing these droppings coming out of a beam or walls. And I've Googled it, and I've seen what the picture looks like, and that's what I'm seeing. Yeah. So that's when they go and call us, and we'll perform the inspection and give them the assessment of what's going on. Yeah. So that involves the inside. Now the outside, a homeowner usually call you around springtime or summer when they're starting to do their spring cleaning outside, or either they go as far as it's painting time for the house, and my painter started doing some prep work, and they discovered some of that softwood we were talking about. But usually homeowners get these alarms from seeing something inside their homes, or even noticing holes in beams or walls that weren't there before. Right. And then they say, I think it's time for me to look at it, get the house looked at and see what we got.
Are there areas of house that are have a tendency to be more susceptible to pests than others? Like, is it?
If you get a house infested, it's always going to start from the outside in. Yeah. Unless unless the house gets infested during construction. Yeah. What happens is I go.
Have you seen that, by the way?
Oh yeah,
I've gone
to construction sites in the middle of summer the house is just about to get framed.
I hadn't even thought about that. How interesting.
They drop off a pile of wood in the driveway.
Oh my gosh.
And it's full of these swarmers or these winged termites already in the wood.
Yeah.
So the contractors.
Can you imagine you move into this new house? You think it's brand new. It's like the best. I don't have to do a thing for years.
No.
And it's being eaten from the inside.
Those are the ones that actually are more susceptible to have issues in the next 5 years because they're all full of infested wood.
But here's the question, though: is that if they have an inspection when they first buy the house, what signs can you see that can possibly?
That's the hard part about our business is that say they build a house in the summertime.
Yeah,
it's a brand new home. We inspect it in June, July. And then swarming season happens August, September, October.
Oh, interesting.
But we do the inspection when there isn't any swarming happening.
You're not going to know, right?
We're not going to see anything. We're not going to know. And then if we do the inspection a year later during swarming season, you're going to see those swarmers up in the attic again. And
so wouldn't it be a good idea for folks to, if they're going to buy a new home, like a new construction, to then have a termite again?
Oh, yes.
A year later.
Exactly. A year later, at least at the end of summer.
Interesting.
I always tell
That's good advice.
Yes, because I just did an inspection earlier this week where it was it was built in 2015.
Yeah.
So everybody was saying, let's just get the termite inspection done. Somebody requested it, either buyers or lender, whoever.
Yeah.
And then, the first thing they tell you when you drive up is that, you're not going to find anything. This got built in 2015.
Right.
But this has already gone through 2 years of swarming.
Yeah.
So I go up in the attic and I see a whole bunch of winged termites from the previous swarms.
Wow.
So I tell the homeowner, well, you know what? This house does have termites. And everybody's in shock saying, what are you talking about? Where they think when we show them pictures of the wings and you tell them,
they're flummoxed.
Yeah,
they can't believe it.
They're in the attic. They must be in the walls as well. So hey, we got to tent it. We got to tent it now. And this is basically the first infestation this home will have is from the inside out now. So when you tent the house, you kind of hit the reset button and you start from scratch. So now the only time that this house will ever get infested again is from the outside in.
Right.
Through these, they could swarm
because they probably aren't going to be able to get through from the outside.
No, it's harder.
For a period of time.
Yeah, for a period of time. Then the only way they can get in is through the vents.
Yeah.
During swarming season, it's got to be the perfect condition for them to fly around and land in between vent holes and get trapped in the walls. And then after that, it's all these Section 2 items that we're talking about.
Right.
That, if the homeowner doesn't
preventative.
The homeowner doesn't take care of the eaves and let those deteriorate and the paint starts peeling, and you got exposed wood, then the termites start entering through there.
There you go.
And that's how you basically start infesting.
Ron, you had something?
Yeah. So my question is, and this is just from a curiosity standpoint, are there health hazards related to having termites in your home? And the reason why is because there are a lot of when you buy a home,
inhaling their poop and stuff.
Maybe I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about termites. I know it's probably
a great question.
It's probably not good to have roaches and like vermin running around your house,
Absolutely.
right? From a health standpoint. And the reason why I'm saying that is because there are a lot of people that rent homes. Right. Yeah. So, and that's a big trend now. And we talked about this on previous podcasts where more and more people are renting homes, and you have these big companies like Blackstone that are buying it, and Invitation Homes that are buying all these homes, and they're not getting
they don't
have
termites.
Loans.
Yeah.
They don't have termite inspections, right? They're just buying these
cash,
foreclosed homes, cash, and then they throw people in there, right? So, are there health hazards and
that would make a renter want to possibly do that to get an inspection?
No, not with termites.
Okay.
Termites don't, they don't cause any issues with health at all. Their droppings are just basically the leftover wood that they don't digest.
Right.
And they just, that's just the
leftovers. What about dry rot?
Well, then you have the dry rot and fungus.
Yeah.
Fungus spores or like fungus plumes.
Do you check for that as part of that?
Yeah,
so you do.
We do check for fungus. We have a gray area with fungus and mold. We're not allowed to say mold or disclose mold or identify mold per our license. So we always call each company is different, but we just call it moisture stains in our reports. Do
you say moisture stains but recommend getting tested by someone you can?
Yeah, the finding will say moisture stains. The recommendations would say get a proper contractor. when we're giving the verbal to the homeowner, we'll say, hey, you might want to get a mold guy over here, but we're not allowed to say it on paper.
Right.
But it's we see black silt on the wall. That something's going on. Yeah.
Definitely.
Those are the ones that are more of a concern of the fungus and moisture issues, but not necessarily the actual termite that would cause any health issues.
And I'll tell you something. It's so with the folks who rent. I mean, for the most part, I think they're kind of like very trusting sometimes in terms of, or they don't even think to even have these inspections done or have an inspection done. Because it's kind of like, it's not my house. What do I care? But it could be.
I've seen tenants.
Have you?
The majority of the time, we do a lot of property management companies, and during storming season or during.
But that property management is kind of they're looking out for someone else's investment.
Yeah.
I could understand why they would do it, but I'm talking about the actual tenants. Have you seen tenants doing inspections?
Not really. Once in a while.
Yeah.
Sometimes when we show up to do termite, we're probably the second company of something bigger that's going on.
Yeah.
We get the termite inspection, and hey, plumber's been here already and a contractor's been here. I'm trying to get a case here for make my case for something.
Yeah, right.
So I'll show up and says, hey, you see all these termites all over the place, and to us we disclose what we see, but sometimes you get kind of pursued to say something that
of course
not there, things
like
that. And I've had that happen a few times, but
yeah.
When the door falls off, that's kind of when they're like, all right, maybe you want to get this checked out.
Maybe we need to go.
Where there's no more
guy.
Insulation in the house and everything's been eaten around the structure.
So the local treatments, right? So there's, I remember hearing something about an orange
oil.
Orange oil. Do you use that, or what is that? And what are your feelings about it?
It's a botanical chemical made out of the environment. It's basically.
Because I think people get concerned about putting some sort of chemical in their house.
Yes, I get a lot of people that would say, "Hey, we give the recommendation for fumigation, but if it's requested by, say, a homeowner, when it isn't an escrow, it's a homeowner, and they say, I don't want to tint my house, I don't have the money, I don't have the resources to leave for 3 days, 2 nights, but I still want to do something about it, then as long as they know that it's going to be a substandard treatment and they want to go that route, then we have different products that we provide.
Got it.
Orange oil is one of them. A few years ago.
Is there any kind of effectiveness difference or no?
Not really. It's really a combination of the chemical that you're using and how you're applying it.
Got it.
Sometimes, some companies just go out and drill a couple holes, inject, and then they leave because they say, hey, I told you there's no warranty.
Right.
But, when you get the good termite companies out there, they'll actually take their time and try to be as efficient as possible and get the treatment done as effective as they can, knowing that there's limitations, but it's still trying to offer a good treatment. There's lots of products out there. Orange oil was when it first came out on the market, they started advertising it as a substitute for fumigation.
Yeah, right.
Started getting these AM commercials on AM radio saying you don't have to leave your house, but then the state kind of
put the kibosh on it.
Yeah, they said you can't say it's a substitute for fumigation. It's always going to be considered a substandard treatment, and you have to put it in the same category as any other local treatment. So we get homeowners that say, well, fumigation. I'm concerned about a fumigation because I have kids or I have asthma, etc. Or I'm concerned about chemicals, and I tell people, well, when you do a local treatment, you're actually leaving more of a residue behind, because you're using these chemicals that are designed to leave a residual and continue killing. Right. So when you're doing these 3 or 4 or 5 local treatments in a house throughout the years, you're actually leaving more of a residual than you would leave by doing a tenting.
Just doing it and getting it over with.
Yeah, and people say they're kind of surprised. They says, "Wow, it's because they see the big tent on it, they think it's a big."
Oh, it's a huge deal.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. When it's that's why biking's been popular for so many years and not been changed by Structural Pest Control Board or the Ag Department, because it's so popular and it's so effective.
Probably the best way to take care of it. Yeah, Ron, go ahead.
I was going to say, are there? You've got me fascinated, right, talking about termites. But are there any specific? Are there any particular buildings or locations that you've seen in Los Angeles that are more susceptible to termites? So that could be, up in the hills, up in certain locations in LA.
And type of structures structures. I mean, you don't really have to have it for something that's all concrete or anything that's all brick or anything like that.
And another piece to that is also condos, right? Does that mean everybody has to get out? Right. So if you have a condo and there's 10 units and you're buying a condo, does that mean every single person has to leave? Do they have to tent the entire structure?
That's another field that we have another gray area on. When we do the inspections for a condo, we're saying we're only inspecting the interior because you have an association that's involved where
it only goes to the walls. Basically.
Yeah, it goes to the walls. Where does it stop? If you find termites in the walls, where is that? Is that HOA or is that a homeowner?
Yeah.
So you have some good HOAs will go as far as saying, hey, we already got that point resolved because we had so many issues.
Yeah.
But in other condos, they just keep blaming each other until one
point
gives.
Right.
So if we find termites, say in a window frame in a condo, you have to treat it like a house and say, hey, at least fumigation is my first recommendation, just so they know. Yeah. But obviously, no, you're not going to move out 10 other people that have nothing to do with the deal.
Exactly.
So as long as the homeowner knows that he's buying
what they're getting into.
Yeah, he's buying a unit that in a building that might have problems.
Yeah.
I always tell people, call the HOA, see if they have a service contract with another termite company, at least that they know they're maybe doing
upkeep of some sort.
Some sort of yearly maintenance on it, etc. So that makes you feel better about that versus them thinking that they're the only condo out of all of them that has the termite problem. So that's where during condos it could be a little bit of a.
And to Ron's point about any areas like that are like if you're by the ocean, it gets more.
Drywood termites like the combination of moisture and the resource of food or the wood that they like to eat. So I do notice, like, say up in Venice, Santa Monica, those
where
areas
there's more moisture in the air.
Yeah, there's more moisture in the air. When there is termites found or there is termite issues, it could be a little more extensive over there versus up in desert areas like Palmdale or even in the valley, Santa Clarita, and those areas where
it's kind of ironic that they're called drywood termites.
Yeah, but they like
moisture
the
so much.
Yeah, they like the combination of.
Everybody wants to live on the west side, even termites.
Even the termites want to be there.
That's why termites are so prevalent here in Southern California because we have the perfect conditions. We don't have too cold, too hot.
Yeah.
And enough moisture that they thrive.
Yeah.
The subterranean termites, which is another type of termite that we find is also dependent on moisture.
Yeah.
But those.
And it would probably be how moist the ground is, so they can burrow in, right, or burrow out.
They just know they basically find they basically when they find a moisture source, they kind of congregate to that area. Then they'll basically send kind of exploratory termites.
Their army out.
Yeah, their army out to try to find food. They'll find dead tree stumps. They can be somebody's yard, and somebody cut down a big tree, and the root system is in the grounds. They'll find that, and then eventually run out of food source, and boom, they end up finding a pier post in a house or a mud seal in the house, and that's when they enter into somebody's home.
Yeah.
But leaks under homes or overwatering of homes can. That's why we talked about Section 2 stuff that that could lead into future problems.
So, other than, of course, calling two guys, what would you be advising folks to look for in a termite company in terms of, like what is it that you should be aware of, warned by, anything that,
I would, if you're buying a home, I would try to get a termite company that has real estate experience.
Okay.
And doing real estate sale inspections because in this field, you call a larger company, one of those big, huge corporation type companies that have termites, and they probably don't have the experience to look out for things. They're more of a salesman.
Yeah.
They want to sell yearly contracts to people. So if that guy was a car salesman 5 years ago,
somehow the solution is always getting on the yearly.
That's where they make their money. So they don't care about Section 1, Section 2. They don't care about all the other stuff. They just care about the monthly contracts. So they want to use scare tactics and say, hey, your house is full of termites. You need to do this big, huge one-time deal, and then to prevent this thing to happen again, let's get you on a.
We'll keep on coming back.
Yeah, every year.
Cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching.
So at least you're gonna have a termite company that at least knows the real estate part of doing inspections that way. Because if not, then I've had to come in after they've hired one of those companies in there, and then you have all these issues where they don't sign off on this item, they haven't sent a completion on this item, and we're about to fund, we're about to close,
Right.
and they only tented the house. They
Solving the problem.
Yeah. So I tell them, you gotta know what you're doing, especially during a real estate transaction. So, I feel like, our business, the majority of our inspections would be real estate.
Yeah.
And then you get the homeowners seasonal, in the summer, in the spring, but in the winter, not much of a homeowner is going to call you that much unless they're, seeing something. They're not going to say, oh, let me just call my termite guy and see what he's doing to come inspect my home.
Right.
But, right now the real estate market is pretty hot. So we're doing lots of that type of inspection.
Yeah.
So.
Anything else in terms of licensing, experience, or?
You want to get somebody that's licensed, obviously, and has experience in the termite field. Sometimes you get a pretty new termite inspector that kind of is still feeling it out.
Yeah,
and kind
right.
of figuring out what just like when we started, like I said, I kind of got my own system of how to inspect.
Yeah.
And I kind of tweaked it around and got.
And it's not necessarily that their company is new, but that they've been in the business for 20 years, like yourself.
For you to be licensed, you still got to go through these steps of the state won't give you license. Just say, I want to be a termite guy, can give me a license. They require you to have the hours of experience.
Right.
When you get your applicators, that's basically the bottom end of licensing, is where you go out and apply the chemicals. You need to have a certain amount of hours and experience before you move up to the next step, which is the field representative or the inspector role. And then after that is the operator or the contractor for you to open up your own business. So by the time you get all those hours, you must have a lot of termite experience,
Yeah.
So it's you just got to be careful with these companies that kind of have been jumping around from company to company, or open 2 or 3 companies already.
Or they change their names.
Their aliases, They get, like I said, these orange oil companies that started, they just kind of camouflage and turn into ABC and then it's in EDF and termites and things like that. So it's you gotta have companies that that been the same for
good, stable companies.
Yeah, exactly.
Got it.
Yeah.
And last question, just because I kind of, whenever I have someone who's actually out there in the field, actually working on the houses and all that, what is the absolute worst thing you've ever seen out there, where you went out there and you literally like scratched your head and said, how did it get that far, or how did they?
I've seen it.
How is this building still standing?
Yeah, I've seen it up in Woodland Hills, up in the hillside.
Oh no!
There.
Don't tell me that.
Yeah, up in
because that's right.
Yeah, I've seen a unit above a garage. And they might have built that. The garage was original, and they built this unit above the garage.
Yeah.
And they had a combination of drywood and subterranean termites.
Oh boy.
Where the studs were basically in maybe a quarter of one wall were basically completely gone.
Oh my gosh.
So you're kind of wondering how that part of the house is still standing.
Oh my God. It formed a master race of termites.
Yeah, and it's something that's been there. I know it's been there for a really long time. So
and there's like this big pile of wood powder like at the bottom of the garage.
It's hard to get to because it's up on the hillside, so you have to kind of get up the hill to see the foundation wall there. But yeah, at least I would say 5 or 6 of those wall studs are just gone.
Wow.
And it's like you kind of rush back out because it's probably been standing like that for maybe 20 years. But
this house needs to be red tagged.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that was a pretty scary one. But after that, it's a combination of things, especially under the houses where you find the creepy stuff. Because if something's bad outside or inside the home, it gets addressed fairly quickly by homeowner or investor buying a house. They just want to fix it and sell it and let's go. But under the house, you find
that's where all the sins are.
Yeah. You see the damage, and you basically see in the bones of a home. So you're kind of checking out those spots that are pretty bad.
Well, Angel, thank you so much for coming today. I really appreciate
Thanks for
it. Do you, why don't you go ahead and give everybody your information so they can contact you if they need someone who's such an expert in termites and if they need an inspection or.
No problem. So our company name's Two Guys Termite. Our phone number is 818-982-7200. We're in the San Fernando Valley. We service Los Angeles County, Ventura County, and we do lots of inspections in the valley. So
Great.
we specialize in real estate and homeowners. So
Great.
Website?
yes, termite.com, the number 2.
Great.
You can get on there and you can fill out an
Contact form
and request an inspection.
And that's for Angel.
Yep.
Because it's not Alionso.
Everybody
It
calls me
is
Angel.
Alionso.
Yeah, but everybody calls me Angel.
It's
Yes.
Angel.
Correct.
Well, great. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
No, thanks for having me.
Great. Well, that's about it for today. If you have any questions or comments, please don't hesitate to leave them for us on our Facebook page, facebook.com/Clarified Realty Podcast, all one word. If you have any questions about real estate or you're looking for someone to help you buy or sell a home, remember, I'm actually a licensed real estate agent. I'd love to help you out, so please email me directly at tom@clarifiedrealty.com or give me a call at 818-335-7662. Don't be shy. Come on, guys. Give me a ring. For more exclusive bonus content and advice between episodes, please check out our website, www.clarifiedrealty.com. Also on our homepage, you'll find links to helpful buyer and seller guides that give you some really great information for starting your home buying or home seller process. So definitely check those out. Here's a new thing. It's actually not so new now, but we actually have an Alexa skill. So search the Alexa store for the Clarified Realty Podcast. Add your skill to your daily briefing and get a dose of real estate news and tips every day of the year. It's definitely pretty cool, so give it a try. I'm on Snapchat, Twitter, and Instagram as well. My handle for all 3 of those are @ClarifiedRealty. Please leave feedback and reviews on iTunes or in the comments section on this page. Together, we are stronger, so if you have any questions or ways that we can make this podcast better, please, please, please let us know. My amazing theme song, Hey Now, is from the band Wolf. That's Wolf with 2 Fs. And please go check them out and like them on SoundCloud. And just a little disclaimer, I'm licensed by the California Bureau of Real Estate. My license number is 01715353. Ron's is
Guaranteed rate, NMLS 2611, NMLS ID 558706, California and Texas.
The advice we give is only for properties located in the state of California. For all other states, please contact your local real estate agent or real estate professional. Well, that's about it, Ron. You all good?
I'm good.
All right. Well, thanks for coming by, everybody. And remember, the greatest thing you can ever do is make someone feel at home. Take care, and we'll see you next week.